Welcome back to the Noise Spectrum. We got a packed show for you this week, so let's get right into it.
Starting off today's show, a story about a couple people at Spectrum who have tattoos.
A lot more people have tattoos than you think, and most of them have a deeper meaning that you wouldn't know just by looking at them.
Let's dive deeper into that with Isaac and Izzy.
On the surface, tattoos can be a way for someone to express themselves or show something they're interested in, but not all tattoos are limited to what shows on the surface.
On my ankle, I have a tattoo with a butterfly and a dragonfly because they both go through a metamorphosis, and that change is just part of life.
This is the true name of a character that no one really knows. It's from a very niche Mario game from my youth that I love.
And the one on my foot is a loon. I just wanted something Minnesota related.
Since tattoos are permanent, some people get matching tattoos with someone special to them to symbolize their relationship.
This one here, the treble clef, and I got that on my honeymoon with my husband. We both played in bands at the Renaissance Festival. That's how we met.
Well, I got the tree one first, and it's matching with my mom. I just said, hey mom, it'd be fun to get a tattoo, and she's like, I'd get that. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
This one was a family piece that we got, but it's from Zelda as well. So it's a little bit of video games and familial bonding and things like that.
And this design is called a dancing knot, where you have the two strands that are intertwined but still separate. And this is in place of a wedding ring.
Not all tattoos are meant to symbolize anything, though. Sometimes just looking cool is enough to warrant getting a lifelong piece of art somewhere on your body.
Oh yeah, at the little shark in the floating. There actually is no meaning.
And then I have a dragon on my leg that's mostly just because dragons are cool.
Whether there's more meaning beneath the surface or not, tattoos can be a great way to express yourself or make connections with other people. This has been Isaac and Izzy, Noise News.
Interesting. Tattoos are so cool. I always love learning about the deeper meanings behind them.
Me too. Before we send it over to Gray and Bella for a story on Women's History Month, why don't we move into our sports segment with Ari?
What's up, Sting? Ari here with sports. Spring sports are starting, and Sting is wishing you guys the best of luck this upcoming season. Last week, track and field had a meet all the way in River Falls, Wisconsin. A long bus ride, but lots of fun for the first meet of the season. For this week, baseball and softball have some scrimmages, and track and field has their second scrimmage of the season at Rockford today. Lastly, great job to the winter sports on ending off on a great note, and we would like to congratulate you. This has been Ari with sports. Back to you, Aaron and Josh.
Thanks, Ari. Glad to see our athletes are still staying active despite the snow.
It's finally March, which doesn't just mean slightly better weather, but also Women's History Month.
That's right. Let's find out what Women's History Month is and why it's important to us here at Spectrum.
Bella and Gray, you have the floor.
There are very many different celebrations throughout the year. The month of March is Women's History Month, but what does being a woman really mean?
That's a term that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For me, it's more about the experience of how I move in society and the expectations that are put on me as a person, as opposed to a more internal experience.
For me, being a woman is a lot about embracing your femininity, whatever that means for you, and allowing yourself to kind of break down the barriers that have been set up in society about what you're supposed to be as a woman.
This month can cause many different emotions for a lot of women.
Honestly, a little exhausted. We look at women's history, and during Women's History Month, we promote women who have done great things in history, and that's wonderful, that's valuable, but at the same time, it seems like our rights as women have actually been backsliding.
It makes me kind of excited. I know that not a lot of people even know that Women's History Month is a thing, so I like to talk about it. I like to talk about women's history, and I like to kind of spread awareness about it, so I think it's a really fun opportunity for me and the people around me to just learn more about the history that we're not always taught in school.
Throughout history, women have been working hard to make a change.
So the women's labor movement during the Gilded Age, so back in the 1890s up through suffrage in the early 1900s. Without the labor movement, there wouldn't have been the organization that was required for the suffragette movement, and without the suffrage movement, we wouldn't have the right to vote. And that's been, one of the most important things for having our voice heard in a political platform?
I think definitely, even though it isn't specific to women, this summer with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I think was a huge turning point that got a lot of people talking about women's history, women's rights, even though, like, because it applies to everyone, it's not just women. So I'd say that that would be one of the most important things, at least in my lifetime, that I've experienced in terms of women's history.
Lots of us have strong female role models in our lives that have impacted us.
My grandma, so she's 101, still alive, and she started out as a school teacher in a small town in rural Minnesota. During World War II, she just up and moved to DC. She's just like, I'm going to DC, I'm going to become a nurse with the Army. So she went through the Army Nurse Training Corps, came back to Minnesota, eventually got her master's in nursing from the University of Minnesota, and that was in the 50s. That was in a time where women were only starting to go to college as like a normal course of society, and she was getting her master's degree, and she eventually was part of the teaching program at the Mayo Clinic. So she's a really incredible woman, and she's been a real inspiration for me.
I think for everyone, the most important figure is going to be your mom. She was like the most important person in my life, and I'll always try to live up to the standard that she set for me to be my own person and to be strong and independent and carve my own path in the world.
There are many ways we can make this month shine a brighter light.
So, like I said, I think it's always good to lift up women who have done good things, but I think what's more important than the focus on individual women's accomplishments is being able to reflect both on how far we've come and how far we have yet to go.
I think it's super important to celebrate this month because I love the quote behind every great man is a powerful woman, because in classrooms we're usually taught about all of our male presidents, all of the men who have done so many amazing things for especially this country, but there's always another woman who's doing the same exact thing or doing it better. And I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today without women. We wouldn't exist without women. So I think that it's important to recognize the role that we play in the world.
And acknowledging and highlighting some of the amazing things that some people who maybe don't normally get as much attention might inspire somebody.
March is not the only month where people should celebrate women and their accomplishments, so remember to take some time and thank some of the powerful women in your life. This has been Belle and Gray, Noise News.
Most of us get very comfortable in our boxes, and usually the people who become famous, male, female, whatever, it's because they've gone outside that box.
Wow, what an impactful story. Be sure to thank some of the women in your life for all they do. By the way, Erin, hope you had a great Women's History Month.
Thanks! To end off our show today, a story about the incredible Spectrum athletes getting recruited and committed to play for colleges. Over to you, JD and Joe.
College recruitment process allows high school athletes to reach the next professional opportunity level. The recruitment process allowed Tanya Gango to touch on with many college coaches. Tanya feel good being featured one too.
My parents, they've always pushed my dreams to play college football, and they've took me to all these camps and got me recruited and drove me to a bunch of colleges. And they have like really nice $60 million facilities, and their football program's been skyrocketing in the top 25 in the nation. You have to be pretty good. My junior year, I led Minnesota in passing stats. If you ever want to play college football, you should get on Twitter right now and go follow every coach that you've ever seen. And you should DM them like, hey coach, I'll love a shot, and ask to get on campus or get a workout in front of them. Kindergarten, I remember watching Aaron Rodgers it on TV, and then I would go out in my yard and I would play football all day, and ever since I was little I wanted to be a quarterback.
Veteran player Blake Freeman, I hope to be a future star someday. He's still on top of being future recruitment.
I'm going to visit a few more colleges and then see from there. When I was in preschool, my brother was playing, so that sparked an interest in me. In St. John, my mom played basketball and my uncle played football. My parents come to all my games and we talk about a lot of stuff involving the sport. And then Coach Terrell coaches me through everything and just is a good kickstand. A big thing with recruiting is joining Twitter, because there's a lot of college coaches on Twitter, and then also just getting your film out there. Height is a factor, and just being tall enough to play that sport. Like, I'd say 6'2" is probably pretty good, which on the line.
Marlena Vane ran too good on track. She is on fire to pass the recruitment.
I first started running when I was in 8th grade. I used to do competitive dance, and then I decided to quit to do running and basketball. Just being a good overall person, academic standing, will show that you are athletically able to compete at that level. So I realized that I had the ability and the potential to run in college. I decided to reach out to coaches over the summer, went on some visits, and then made my decision in October. I really liked the coaches, really nice indoor facilities, and the team, the atmosphere that the University of North Dakota had. Parents are my biggest supporters, just because of all the guidance that they gave me throughout the whole process, and with any questions or doubts that I was having, they were always there to back me up.
Whether you compete individually or as a team, the college sport recruitment process is the next level for some. This has been JD and Joe.
Thanks, team.
And one more congratulations to the Spectrum Theater program with their amazing performances over the weekend.
Yes, and stay tuned next week to get a sneak peek into the hard work that went into the musical.
Well, Spectrum, that's all the news we have for you this week. This has been Aaron.
And Josh.
Keeping you
in on the noise.
Did you go to the play?
I was in it, actually.
Oh.
I don't know if you know.
Okay.